for any questions. This does go beyond just accommodations. That's super important, but also a working mom could listen to readings. Somebody at the gym could work out and listen to readings. So it's really a big look at inclusivity and how we can help students with that. So without any further ado, welcome, Krista.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Okay, where to start? So let me give you a little bit of background as to like why I get to be the one to work with you all. So I have spent my entire career in accessibility. I have always worked in higher education as well, and so I used to work directly with students with disabilities. I used to work full-time at a couple of institutions. I have managed the accessible documents and textbooks program. I have managed the captioning program. My master's degree is in instructional design, so I love just thinking about good quality online content, and I'm very blessed with the opportunity to work with institutions all over the nation. And actually, I have a couple of international clients I'll be working closely with about these very same issues that you are all currently facing, right? You as online faculty have a lot on your plate. You have a lot of things that are asked of you, and accessibility is definitely one of them. So what can we do to help with that? So what I'll do is I'll share my screen to walk you through Ally, the product, and please do ask questions in the chat on the way. If it's a really kind of burning question, please feel free to interrupt me. I'm very comfortable with that because I want to make sure that you are the focus of what we're doing here today. If I need to be louder, go slower, repeat, please interrupt and give me that feedback as well. So with no further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, beautiful. So I am in my demo learn environment, and I wanted to go straight into the environment instead of doing like a slide introduction, just so we can really make sure we maximize our time together today. Essentially, Ally is trying to support institutions in providing more accessible content in a couple of different ways. So let's focus on our faculty first, right? Because you are faculty. So in my demo online course, I'm going to go into my biology course, and the first thing that you faculty members will see or perhaps have seen are these indicators, these accessibility indicators that are going to pop up next to content items, particularly documents or things that you've attached, files that you've attached. And we're trying to give you quick information right from the beginning as far as how accessible something is. So the syllabus, if I make this a little bit bigger, the syllabus has a little orange dial. If you don't see orange, that's totally okay, because the dial also indicates kind of how accessible something is. So it's kind of like a speedometer in a car, right? The farther right the dial is, the faster you go. Well, with Ally, the farther the dial is to the right, the more accessible something is. So this is pointing straight up at high noon. So it's saying, hey, this is like a medium accessibility score. So as a faculty member, I would go ahead and select that dial, and this is going to launch what we call the instructor feedback. So this is the built-in mechanism to give you awareness as to what it is we're talking about, why is it important, and then how do I fix it, right? What are the instructions, what's the information to actually improve this? So this syllabus, let me focus on the right-hand side. The syllabus is the document name, and it's been given a 52%. So to get this 52%, you did not have to do anything special. As faculty, you just add your content, design your courses as you normally would. Ally has been added to your Learn environment to where it's working in the background. So in the background, Ally is scanning content, it is assigning a score, and it's doing some other things using algorithms behind the scenes. So what does this mean? There are no special buttons for you to press to make this work, right? You just keep doing what you've always done, and Ally is going to, I guess, jump in, for lack of a better phrase. So let me pause and actually check in. Did that make sense? And sadly, I've hidden the video, so I can't see any nonverbal responses. So I will have to probably take silence as thumbs up, A-okay. All right, so let's move on. So 52% is the score. One of the first things Ally is doing is identifying what is one of the main issues. So for this syllabus, for this biology class, it's identifying, hey, this document does not have headings. For those that are brand new to accessibility, or maybe it's been a while, if you're like, what are you even talking about? There's a wonderful button, What This Means. And this is designed to give you really short, non-geek speak information as to what it is we're talking about, right? Learning jargon is, trying to decipher jargon is a pain. And so we try to make this as friendly as possible and as explanatory as possible. I did see something pop up on the chat here, so let me pull that up. Apologies. Okay, great. So this first panel is giving us some basic information. There are some arrows at the bottom on the right and left that can provide deeper context. So that first panel was kind of the what are we talking about? The second panel is the why, or why should I care? So for headings, headings are important because they help to facilitate reading. They're really essential for those with visual impairments, and they can really help to clarify the navigation and allow an easier experience for students to go through the content that you've designed or chosen or created. So that's what that first button does. It essentially launches the what is it and why should I care? After that, the natural question is, well, how do I fix this? What are the steps, right? So something I want to make clear, Ally does a great job of identifying issues, giving you context, and then walking you through how to fix those issues. Ally is not changing your original content for you. It is not fixing the original source files. It's not fixing the original document that has been uploaded into Learn, because you are the content manager, subject matter expert for that content, right? We don't want automated technology to try to guess what is a heading and what isn't. We don't yet trust technology enough to assign good alternative text to an image, because the way, like, you've chosen images specifically in your course to communicate something. Well, having another person or having technology guess as to what that meaning is kind of a dangerous place. So Ally is great at what it does, but I want to be transparent. It's not going to solve everything for you, right? There is this interaction, this process that we need to have together, because you are the subject matter expert and Ally is helping you identify where your expertise is needed. I did see something, I see all the chat pop up, so let me, great. Is it possible to shut the door? It's a great question. I apologize. It's quite an open space, so I can't really shut the door as well. I can lean a little closer to my computer and see if that's helpful at all. Mercedes, is that any better? Okay, I'll be a little bit louder and be a little bit closer. Thanks for letting me know that. So let's go ahead and choose the how to add. So how do I do this? How do I fix this content? So I'll go ahead and select that. And then Ally is going to ask that you always find your original source file, or that you open up your original document. So in this case, you can find it on your computer or on Google or wherever it is. You could also just download it directly. And so then you'll go ahead and choose the authoring tool that you used, whether it's like Microsoft or Open Office or LibreOffice, and then it's going to walk you through step by step. Open the original, select the text, go to the home tab. We have included additional information as far as like kind of those tips and tricks and additional context. We have included screenshots and such. And so if I go in deeper of, okay, how do I do this well? Because this first panel is like the very basics of, here are the 2 or 3 buttons that you press. But the additional context is like, okay, well, what button do I press when? So for example, this third page is talking about using bold and underlining is not going to create a heading. A heading is important because it adds structure to a document that allows a screen reader user to actually navigate through that document. Doing text bold, underlining, italics, bigger font, that is not actually achieving the needed structure. Visually, it's looking like things, but it's not actually changing what we needed to change. Additionally, there is kind of a hierarchy. So if you think of your content as like an outline, what's sort of the relationship, right? That third paragraph in your document, what is that relationship? Is that a brand new topic or idea? Or is that a continuation of a topic? Or is it, you know, the footnotes? What is it? So it's trying to give you some examples of, okay, if you were to structure this whole document in sort of an outline format, which is like the first idea, which may be heading 1, what are like supplemental ideas, which may be heading 2, and what are additional like deeper items, which could be a heading 3. So it's providing some in-context information designed to be as simple and straightforward. We know your time's really valuable. You have a lot on your plate. So we try to provide the most clear information with the least amount of words. So I'll go ahead and exit out of that and exit out of that as well. And the last thing I want to point out before I check in, I'll check in with the audience, with you all, is there is this option at the bottom of this panel where you can drag and drop and easily replace your content. So because you're being asked to go to your original source file and fix it there, we need to get that fixed file back into your learning management system. So you can drag that file from your desktop, drop it in this section, and the Ally will replace the original file. So let me pause and check in. That was a lot of information. How are we doing?
It makes sense to me.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good.
Okay,
I just
great.
have a question about, we typically use PDF files that are in Blackboard, but our files are all in Word. So
Yeah.
make the updates in Word and then turn them into PDF and
Yes. Yes,
carry over.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, you may find that PDFs tend to have the most accessibility problems with them, unless if you started in Word, made that Word document accessible, and then saved as a PDF. If you do that process, Word, save as PDF, and then upload, you should be in pretty good shape. But if you start just from a PDF and work from there, you're probably going to run into some more barriers. PDF is just a harder format to make accessible, and it's something that the whole world is struggling with. Here's some anecdotal information. The Australian government actually said for every PDF that that government has to provide, they also need to provide it in like a Word document or text version. And I think it was Canada that recently did something similar where they recognize the barriers of PDFs. So they say if you're going to use PDFs, you can, but you also need to provide an additional version as well. So fun fact of the day, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah, love that. Let me point out a couple of other things on this screen. So I've ignored the left-hand side of the page, which is essentially a preview of the document. So this is designed to let you kind of see what your content is, a reminder of, what it looks like and such. And what's nice about this is for some of the issues, pardon me, I hit the wrong button there. So for some of the issues, it's actually going to identify where that issue lives in the document, trying to save you time and efficiency. So true story, there was an instructional designer in California trying to fix files. There was a contrast issue somewhere in the document, but they could not find it. So they spent actually over 2 hours like guessing and checking of, oh, was this the color combo? Nope, that wasn't it. Was this the bad color combo? Nope, not that. Turns out it was actually something really, really small in the footer. So something very minor, didn't really impact the student at all, but Ally kept saying, hey, there's an issue, without any additional guidance, and it was naturally a very frustrating experience. So thankfully, we don't have that anymore, because we do point out where some of those issues live. So the BIO of biology up against that kind of transparent gray black background, that's a contrast issue error. And then the small white text in the bottom corner up against that gray background, that was also another issue. So If you don't like seeing those red borders, you can actually turn that off by selecting this eye icon of show highlights or don't show the highlights. You can skim through the page, or excuse me, you can jump through the issues by using the up and down arrows. You could also jump through the pages using the right and left mechanisms as opposed to scrolling. And then you can zoom in and zoom out on your content as well. Great. Last thing I have not verbally mentioned yet is this all issues button. So Ally has tried to be conservative in the fact of identifying one issue at a time so it's not overwhelming, but it is also frustrating to be told, oh, there's one issue, you fix it, and then to say, oh, by the way, here's another one. So if you want to just kind of get a good overview of a document, you can go to all issues and you can see all of the issues that Ally is flagging with that document. And then you can go through using the fix button to actually get the context of what are we talking about, what are the step-by-step instructions, why should I care about this issue? Does that make sense?
Yes, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Let me show you a couple more things. So I'll go ahead and close out of that. I should mention that with these dials, they range from a red score to an orange to green, and then like a dark green. So the red color is like 0 to 33%. So if the document is scored within that range, it's going to be given a red dial. Orange is like 34% to 66% orange, and then 67 to 99% is this light green like we see with the biology requirements. So this is actually at a 67% here. So it's green, it's in the green zone, but 100% is the dark green. So that's the scheme that we use, the color codes and such. Something that some of you are probably thinking of is well, what happens if I have reds? Like, what happens if I have reds and I don't have, like, essentially it's that question of how do I say this? What's going to happen if I don't get to fixing the reds or the oranges, right? What happens if there are barriers in my course and I either don't have the time to fix it, or there's just so many issues that I feel overwhelmed? Like, what are the consequences of this? And as context, I was able to meet with a lot of folks from Concordia, Wisconsin back, was it summertime? It was sometime in 2019, and as the group of leaders kind of rolling out or in charge of Ally, I said, hey, like, be sure to communicate that Ally will not be used punitively, because that's not where we want to start, right? We're wanting to help people progress and get better, but we don't want to do it in like a mean or, using punishments or those types of things.
Krista, I had a quick question along
please.
those lines, and
Yes.
I think that they don't see them, but I'll put this out. The students do not see the color-coded indicator. So that was a good question. So they don't see the red, yellow, or the green. In good faith, we hope you want to make it green.
Yes, perfect. Thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, so just to prove that students don't see that, let me go into the student preview mode. Yeah, students do not see the dials, and they will see the alternative formats, which I haven't gotten to yet, but they do not see the dials. Now, here's a lesson learned though. There is a faculty member in Tennessee who was told, oh, students never see the dials. And they were like, cool, awesome. Well, that faculty member had a habit of broadcasting the instructor view to the class. So they broadcasted this view very much like what I'm doing right now. There was a student in the front row, hey, faculty member, what is that red thing? And naturally, I mean, and unfortunately, that faculty member became a little embarrassed because they were literally called out in class by a student for having some barriers in their content because they were broadcasting the instructor view. So students do not naturally see those dials, but it is possible that you could accidentally let them see that by broadcasting the instructor view. So the takeaway is whenever you are in front of students or making videos or broadcasting online, be sure to go into student mode first to really protect yourself from being asked questions.
Thank you. You can go ahead and go on to the next. Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, so just to let you know, we are all in the camp of progress. Let's help you. Let's take off, you know, small bite chunks of making progress. I never tell a campus to try to get 100% from the get-go. It really is a matter of like, okay, start small, start doing something, right? Just make some kind of progress. And hopefully you all and your leaders can give you more guidance as to what exactly progress means at Concordia. So, okay, let's talk about students. So what do students see? So students will see these dials, and I'll just select it here because actually you faculty can also get to this. So the alternative formats, these are generated automatically by Ally, and they're designed to allow students to choose a different version, or really it's the same content, but to get that in a different way, right? So for example, some of the PDFs you upload may not be the most helpful format for a student for whatever reason.
Excuse me, Krista, could
yeah.
you show us this from the student view?
Yeah, sure thing. So it's actually the same view, the same exact thing that students see is what the faculty see, but I'll still go into student preview just to get rid of the colorful dials. So students, same exact list, same exact options. So students can choose what file format is going to work best for them based on their learning needs, based on the device, based on the environment they're in. The offerings that we include are tagged PDF. So PDF still is very much used in academia and students are comfortable with that. We've tried to add in some more structure to that PDF to allow folks to navigate it easier, and it allows technology to kind of jump through a document. So I guess let me be a little bit more explicit. Tags in a PDF allow a screen reader user to kind of visually scroll through a document. So for us sighted folks, we can scroll through and say, oh, 2 columns, there's a footer at the bottom, there's an image off to the right here, and it's like 3 pages long. Well, tags allow somebody who is blind to do the same thing, but with their technology, they would actually kind of, they would tab through to see, okay, here's a heading, this is a main topic, okay, here's body text, here's a table, here's an image, oh, yeah, here's like a footer. So if you don't have tags in a PDF, that screen reader user, that blind person, is forced to read your content top to bottom, left to right, every single time. They have no additional control for kind of getting to the content that they actually need to get to. So let's move on. HTML. So HTML is great for browsers. Let me go ahead and download the HTML right now. And that downloaded pretty instantaneously. And because I want to give you a comparison, I'll open up this original syllabus. So we have, oops, still opening. So we have the Word document syllabus. And it has kind of an image, it has some text, has some bulleted lists, right? So we saw that in the in-browser preview. If I go back to the HTML version, same content. However, you may notice though that this kind of heading of Introduction to Biology, this section of course description, and the section of learning outcomes, it does look different compared to the Word. So in the Word document, it's bolded, it is visually distinctive, trying to signify this is a heading. Well, the reason why that was not honored in the HTML version is because this is actually just body text. If I were to make this a heading, then Ally would honor that as a heading and it would keep it as a heading in the HTML version. So let me pause and check in. Did that make sense?
Any questions, anybody? I don't have any in the chat, but if there's any other questions, can unmute everybody. He's unmuted.
No question.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Hey, Krista.
Okay, yeah, hi.
One thing that I have found, and I'm just mentioning it because I just noticed it here, is if that whole line is not a heading, it doesn't recognize it. Like if part of it is
I see what
formatted
you're
as
saying.
heading 1 and part of it, the line before the paragraph mark is normal, it won't recognize it as a heading.
Okay, in the
Ally.
Word document in Ally. Okay, that's interesting to know.
Because what it actually looks for is the outline. It looks for what outline calls, I don't remember, it doesn't call them headings, but something else.
Gotcha. H1?
I'd have to look.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so it's definitely best practice to make sure that everything on one line is formatted the same way, right? Because course description, that is the name of the whole section, so you would want that to be honored. This little paragraph marker in Word is kind of scary at first, but it's really insightful because it does give you some information as far as like what is the text doing behind the scenes. So for example, you could end up having, let me actually turn that paragraph marker off for a second. So what I purposefully did is I added another line below that, and it's technically also a heading 1. I can verify that by going, and I'm on my Mac, so this is a little bit different in Word, but if I go under, oh, it's the outline view, and I always forget where it is. Okay, nope, wrong spot. So let me go ahead and go. So hang on one second. Okay, let me go under here, and I actually use the replace button. And so over here on the far left, and let me actually add in just another example of, we'll add course outlines as a heading 2. So this section is identifying, okay, course description is a heading 1, and then there's also another heading 1, but that's an empty space. And then we have course learning outcomes as a heading 2. So Ally would, this is technically a barrier because it's saying, hey, user, there's like an additional heading here when in fact there's actually not supposed to be. So that was a little bit of a tangent of just trying to communicate. Headings are important. You do want to pay attention to what headings look like in Word. You'll want to pay attention to what Ally's doing in the translated versions and so on. But really going back to where we started, the HTML version is an output for students. Great for the mobile environment. It will honor the structure of the Word document. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so going back to some other options, so epub. Now epub is a, I guess let me actually ask you all, how many of you faculty use epub in your courses?
Okay, I've unmuted everybody now. Let's see what they think.
I've not.
We got a couple that
Okay.
are saying that they haven't.
Okay.
None that I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah, so epub is interesting. It probably pops up the most if you use digital textbooks from publishers and such. So epub is kind of a newer format still, but essentially it's really great for those using mobile devices. So those that are on iPhones, tablets, you can even use them on your laptop or desktop computer. Kindle is a proprietary version of epub. So it is designed to give you functionality as far as like what it looks like visually. So for example, you can change the font size, you can change the spacing between characters, spacing between words, the margin note spacing, the spacing between lines, you know, above and below each other. There's highlighting capabilities, annotation, et cetera, et cetera. It's really designed to give you a lot of control over what the font looks like. So for students that really like to kind of annotate their hard copy, but if a hard copy isn't really offered, the student could download an epub using some kind of tablet or stylus, and they could actually annotate on the epub version that way. So it's a cool format that could be really helpful for studying purposes.
Okay, I've got a question for you if that's okay.
Please.
From Kevin, it says,
Okay.
if you press the heading 1 button and the color and font are different than what you want,
Yes.
how can you change it?
Yes. Oh, I love that question. So let me go back to my Word document. Put your cursor on where that heading is, and then you right click and you can modify, and then you can change color. So let's make this maybe 20-point font. Maybe I want to make it this purple. Maybe I do want it bolded because I like that contrast. And then be sure to select the automatically update. That's beneficial because any pre-existing heading 1 in your document will automatically change to whatever color scheme that you have identified. So I'll press OK, and there it is. So yes, you do not have to live with the built-in defaults within the heading styles. Kind of advanced, let's up it one level. So if I go back under modify for heading 1, you can also do things like add in a border at the bottom. So if I choose border, and then I'll choose the icon showing the borders like underneath the text, hit OK, and then OK again, there it is. So you can still have pretty documents and have them be accessible. You don't have to choose one or the other. At least with headings, it's pretty easy to make it pretty. So, yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for that question. Okay. Let's see, what else? So electronic Braille. Ooh, I do need to ask this question. How many of you have heard of a refreshable Braille display before?
I don't think so. I'm not seeing anybody that has.
Okay, so this is really cool. I am purposely pulling up an image of this, and it's going to be a little grainy, but it will be able to communicate what I'm trying to show. So a refreshable Braille display is designed for people who know Braille, and these are typically people who don't have sight or they don't have a lot of sight. Think of it as a monitorless laptop for somebody to be able to connect to the internet, check their calendar, create papers, surf the web. You can get on Facebook, Twitter. I mean, it is really a laptop for those that use Braille. There is some limitations on the programs you can install on it though. So trying to install like Adobe, what is it, Photoshop, probably not gonna work. But this device is anywhere from a couple inches wide to, you know, several inches long and wide. And there's two components. The one component is that there are 4 buttons at the top. And so the Braille user would actually press those buttons down in a combination. They could actually press them down to create Braille, which on our end would look like regular text. So somebody doesn't have to use like the keyboard that we use, the QWERTY keyboard. They could use Braille to create their papers, write their assignments, do their papers, etc. So they can input Braille using this. This bottom part that's black and they're actually like little white dots, and those little white dots rise and lower based on what the text is looked at. So for example, if somebody is checking out a website because it's an assignment, they could listen to it, you know, using technology, or if they know Braille, they could actually read it in Braille live, which is really cool. So somebody who knows Braille, loves Braille, reads really quickly with Braille, they can use this and that desired file type to get their learning accomplished instead of being forced to listen to it only, which we know listening only, it makes it hard, especially for like comprehension and some other things, depending upon the subject and the learner and whatnot. So going back to this, the electronic Braille output that Ally produces is a file type designed to work with that device.
Okay, thanks. I'm sure there's big interest in this audio one.
Yes, so audio is fantastic. We know there's lots of uses for that. It is an MP3 file format. Let me download that, and I'll have to play it very briefly because I am in a lounge, and but let me go ahead and play it. And actually you faculty can also play with this too, because once you have Ally enabled in a course. So let me clear. So I realized that actually the way I'm connecting auditorily to my computer, like you may not have actually been able to hear anything. So, because it's probably going through my headphones, not through the computer. So I highly encourage you to play with the audio version to hear what it sounds like. It is a computer voice, but it's a lot better compared to the voices from 12 years ago. It's not nearly as robotic. There is a limit though. It is one voice at one speed. We don't yet have the ability for somebody to customize, oh, I want a British female voice versus, you know, Spanish male voice. We don't have that customizability yet. It is something that's on our roadmap. It's not the top thing on our roadmap though, so it would be a while before that was available. Also the speed, if that speed is too slow for somebody, they can't change it using Ally. They can speed up the audio file using certain media players for those that are kind of tech savvy and really interested and wanting to use that and such. So this next one, Beeline Reader, this is, I would be surprised if anybody really knew what this was, but this is designed for speed readings. So let me choose Beeline Reader and then download. And opening up, it is HTML based, but it's designed to allow for faster reading by changing the color gradient, or excuse me, to change the color in like a gradient fashion. So for this example, we see Introduction to Biology. It starts off black, kind of fades to a bright blue, fades back to black, and then fades to a bright red and back to black. There's not formal research on the effectiveness of this, but there is a lot of anecdotal information about people saying, wow, like, yeah, actually this is really helpful for me. If you don't see this particular color scheme, you can change it. So there's a dark version where it's still blues and reds, but it's a much more muted blue and a much more muted red. If you don't see red at all, you can go totally blue color scheme. So we have blue and purple. And if color really is just not something that you see, there is the gray option as well, where it kind of fades from black to a lighter gray and then back. So really cool, lots of options. Now, something I will say is you probably don't see this option in your course right this minute because we just ran a pilot of Beeline Reader with a group of about 30 institutions. But we've cut that pilot short because we've decided to move forward and just add this as part of Ally for everybody. So you should be seeing this come available as an option in the next, oh, my guess is probably 4 months, just because I'm not a developer. I don't know what it takes to get it launched out to everybody, but it's something that you can look forward to if you don't already have it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And last but not least, translated version. So this one is probably turned off where you can't see it in your course yet, but essentially this is focusing on language translation. So for our learners that speak multiple languages, it could be really valuable to have something in, you know, kind of supplemental format in a different language. We offer over 50 different languages. We partner with an automated translation company to provide these. And for some of you, this will be really exciting. Other of you that teach foreign languages, this is probably a concern, right? Hey, Krista, the whole point of this assignment is for them to turn it into Spanish. Why would you shortcut and provide, you know, let the student essentially just download the Spanish version? So our response is the translated version is turned off by default. We want the institution to decide when to make this available. Right now, it's an all or nothing functionality. Either all of the courses, all of the documents have this option, or none of them have the option. That's a big pain point, having that all or nothing, because we can say, oh, maybe our English courses would really benefit from this, but our foreign language courses, it would be really detrimental to the objectives of the course. So we are working on customizability, but we're not there yet. So summarize, this is probably turned off for you already. It can be turned on, but it would be turned on for everyone. So you would want to consider as an organization, as a school, when does it make sense to do that? Something I do want to point out that could be helpful, and I apologize, let me turn off my Google Translate is just like hanging out this icon, which is annoying me. So I apologize if it's annoying you. One thing that you can do on the instructor side to help mitigate that concern about the translated version a little bit is in the instructor side, when you faculty choose that A, you do have the option to turn off the alternative formats for a particular file. So what this means though, is it removes all of these options for students. So it will remove the translated version, which is good, but it will also remove all of these other options for students. I'm always a little hesitant to advertise that too brightly because I really don't want faculty to go in and just turn off alternative formats for all of their documents, because I think it's really doing a disservice to students. But I can appreciate there are certain scenarios where it'd be really inappropriate to have translated version or other alternative formats be available. Really sensitive material, really, stringent copyrighted material, all of these things could and are very much part of our reality. So if you're really not comfortable with a certain format being available for one of your source files, you as instructors can turn that off. But it would have to be at a file by file. You would have to go into each of your files and hit this disable button because again, we're trying to provide the most amount of options for your students just because we see the immense value of that.
Sure. Just real quick, let me jump in. In the interest of options, we had a question. Do you know of a free EPUB reader or website a designer could use to test the EPUB version if an iPad or Kindle wasn't available? And then Michael Borsch shared that the Kindle is free for PC, but I didn't know if there's anything else you wanted to add.
So there is a Mac version as well. I actually have Kindle because my other computer pooped out on me. I am using my personal Mac, and there's Kindle available on Mac as well.
Okay.
So yeah, their Kindle app should be available. I have Kindle on my iOS on my iPhone, so it should be available for both, Android and iOS. But there are some additional EPUB readers. So, and we actually have a list of them available. So we do have a help site. Help.blackboard.com, and under the Ally for LMS student section, there's alternative formats, and we use headings on the far left side, so you can actually jump to this. So if I choose EPUB, right here, it's going to identify some of these EPUB readers that I think pretty much all of these are free. Some of them have
Sure, outstanding. Thank you. That answers it. Appreciate the choice, the amount of choice.
Yeah, let me put this in the chat just so you have it available there as well. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And while I'm on this page, this is great for your students to see, okay, what type of task or what type of format may be most helpful for them. I really like this chart. So if you really want to focus on adjusting your text, and then HTML or EPUB could be a great option. If you're commuting, there's lots of options for that, and so on. So lots of great information on this page, and great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I know our time is getting closer to the end than the beginning, so I do want to point out a couple of other things. Excuse me. There's a terms of use kind of built in. This is to help address some of those concerns about copyright and what if students do inappropriate things with content. So we do, put this in. This is kind of our approach to this. This is our message of how you should or should not be using this information. We do work globally, so there is mention of, UK patents and sections and such. You'll be responsible for anything that goes sufficiently wrong, and so on. So that's kind of one way to help sort of provide a layer of protection. The other thing that could be helpful to note is for students, if they were to have some kind of question, there is this link, this help link, and there is the opportunity for the LMS administrators to modify this. So for example, this is just a default message. You could add in your own content, pointing students to content on your own web pages. There's an opportunity to put in a specific email address. So if I were to type something right here, it would generate an email to my Blackboard email account. You could use this to direct students to your IT support line or to a specific department or office. So there is some additional functionality for students to get help outside of connecting directly with you faculty members. And I failed to mention that same functionality is also available on the faculty side. So if I go back into my, my instructor feedback for the syllabus, under the how to add, if I'm just really lost in like, okay, what I need some additional resources, there is also that ability to customize this page that is focused on supporting faculty. And again, an email opportunity to reach out to the appropriate folks to help faculty. Okay. I think the last thing that we have before I would really love to hear additional questions is on the administrator side of Ally. So those who are your LMS administrators at Concordia, they can get to the usage data, which means is you can actually see the number of alternative format downloads and the type of downloads and such. So I think it downloaded appropriately. So let me go into my downloads folder. Here it is. So faculty can't get to this yet. We're hoping that you can get to this at some point, but as of right now, this would need to be done on the administrator side. And making this a little bit bigger. So this is the kind of data that we can track. So this is true data for your institution, for Concordia, from January 1st until today. So students have clicked on the alternative formats icon about 300 times. And about 138 of those times, they've actually made a selection and downloaded something. So the download rate for students is about 42%. So 42% of the time, when students are selecting the Ally dial or the Ally icon, they are choosing to download a specific file type. There's the raw data on the left, and on the right we have the bar graph, and then scrolling farther down, we can see the distribution of what are students choosing to download. So the top format for students to download at Concordia for the month of January 2020 is HTML. Students are really liking the HTML version. Audio version, second place, about 40 instances, and then PDF, about 27 if we include both PDFs. OCR PDF is basically if you have a scanned PDF, the OCR PDF is a searchable version of that, and then tagged PDF is just providing that additional structure as well. So this is telling me more of where did the PDF start as, but the output is essentially the same for students. What we can also see, and this could be, you know, maybe a concern, so I'm going to hide a little bit maybe more of the names, but there is the opportunity for the administrators to see the course ID, course code, and course name to see how many downloads occurred for those courses. So we can see which courses students are most likely to download alternative formats for. We're not trying to out anybody by name. However, if the name is in the course code or in the course name, it could create a kind of a sticky situation. So I have purposely kind of hidden the rest of the columns there to, you know, protect folks as much as possible, and I'll just scroll up as well. But again, this is not to be used punitively. It really is just more encouragement and just like, wow, we have a lot of students in our intro courses using alternative formats. Okay, maybe that should change our course design a little bit. It's
Yes.
designed to promote those types of questions. Again, we're not trying to like make anybody feel bad or, you know, shake the finger at them. We're really trying to say, okay, what is happening and how can we use that for multiple reasons of good?
Sure, it's another layer of feedback. Very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would be remiss to mention, and there is an opportunity to get a course. Let me actually go to the help pages here. I'm not logged into the right site to show you this, and I know we have just 7 minutes left, which is really short. But we have a new feature really designed for faculty. It's the course accessibility report. So this is designed for faculty to get a sense of what are the trends for a course? You know, what are my top issues for my entire course? What amount of content do I have in my course? So instead of seeing this live, unfortunately, I'm walking through using some screenshots, but once it's kind of configured and Mercedes will maybe need to check offline to see if it's configured for Concordia yet. But
Okay.
you should see accessibility report under course tools. And from there, depending upon, so you guys are on learn. So yeah, so it'll be under course tools. And then you're going to see this for your particular course. At the very top, you'll see the name of the course, the score for the entire course. What's really neat is you'll be able to see a colorful dial of the amount of content and the breakdown of that content. Maybe you don't realize how much of your content is in Word versus PDF. Well, Ally will tell you that. And then for those that are perhaps overwhelmed and they're like, oh, I have so many files, so many dials, where do I start? We've tried to build in a couple of pathways for you to kind of choose your own adventure. So for example, we have a pathway of content with the easiest issues to fix. So pressing that start button is going to take you a list of content items that should be pretty quick and pretty easy to improve.
And then with those, you usually get the most bang for your buck as far as the percentage. We did have another question real quick.
Please.
Why would students be downloading so much in the HTML format?
Ooh, it's a great question. So I'll have to share you my hypothesis because we don't have the data to explain the why. We only have the data to share the what.
Okay.
The prevailing hypothesis for HTML popularity is device driven. So more students are mobile, and HTML is just a better format for mobile environments.
Great. Okay.
So that is probably part of the answer. Last thing on this, so the further down you scroll on your course accessibility report, you will see a list of all of the accessibility issues. You can see a count of the number of items that have that issue. So for example, in this sample course, there are 36 documents that have images that are missing a description. And selecting that row will actually take you, again, a list of those content items. So if you really wanted to, have a competition with a peer or within your department, you could say, okay, for the month of January, we're just going to focus on making images accessible. Guess what? Everybody can go get a clear list of how many they have and fix them, and then see, how many are left to be fixed by the end of January. So there can be some fun kind of gamification elements if you're somebody who, is a little competitive like I am. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, I heard it can be kind of gamified for those kind of, picking your path.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Here's another question here. If we are on the less accessible list, do we get an email?
Good question. No, Ally doesn't have any sort of built-in, notification system or pinging. There's nothing like that, which could be good and bad because maybe you really would appreciate that kind of notification. So I think maybe working with the LMS administrators and those whose role it is to kind of support you, kind of work through them to get that information.
Yeah, Todd,
is probably the best way.
Yeah, Todd Crace is the contact here for having it turned on in your course, and he could help with that. But no particular email on anybody who's the least accessible. We do want to celebrate everybody that's the most accessible, and know too that all of the new courses being designed are being designed at a 95% or better rate. So they've been working on that for almost a year. So really exciting that we're trying to make this better for everybody and easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Any last words before we go? Thanks so much. You were great.
All right. Thanks for your patience with me. I know this was not the ideal environment for anyone.
It definitely got better and more clear.
Okay.
So as long as people can hear it, I think we'll be in great shape. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day and a safe travel, safe flight. And we appreciate your help.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, please send questions up. You can find my direct email as well. And I just wish you all the best of luck. You guys are doing great work. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Krista.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.